Who am I? I worked at Criteo. My name is Bo. I worked at Criteo. I'm currently leading the team Business Services in the platform department. At the platform department, what we do, we provide systems, toolings, and services to the product engineering team so that they can focus more on the business side and less on the things like putting in place CI/CD pipelines, observabilities, orchestration, etc. Usually, we say a company is like a family, right? I mean, not just a Criteo. In general, the company is like a family. But when we talk about family, we talk about relationships. We care about relationships. When you're in the relationships, if you care too much about others, you lost yourself. I didn't invent this. There are a lot of advice on the internet telling you not to lose yourself in a relationship. But today, we're not talking about a relationship. We're talking about command line tools. Because I think command line tools are one of the things that we forgot during our relationship of development. But it's very important for us, for the SRE engineers, right? We use them on a daily basis. But it's not often considered as a first-class citizen, as web applications or server-side applications. So here is what we found when we developed command line tools at Criteo. There are some common functions that we have been reinvented again and again. For example, release and deployment. At Criteo, if you write a Hello World applications, the CI/CD pipeline is just there. You don't need to worry about that. You just build and deploy into production, a whole pipeline doing that. But for command line tools, you have to think, wait, what kind of resources I need to put into the binary? How can I compile them? And how can I deliver that to all the engineers? And of course, your first version will not be perfect. You have to have new versions, have patches. How do you deliver these patches of new versions to engineers? Probably you need to implement auto-update, argument parsing. Compared to the graphic interface, the command line interface is very, very simple. But you have to take your time to pass all the arguments, turn that into the red flags, the red values, and then use that in your programs. Auto-completion. In case your command line tool is running on the developer's dev environment, auto-completion is a must-have. What else? Credential management. We don't want to tap credentials multiple times when we run a command. The better way will be you store it securely and reuse that later and expire them in time. There are other common functionalities like this. I will not cover all of them, because you get the point. But if you look at this list, none of them are very difficult to implement. But if you put all of them together, we get distractions. We all know that when you get distractions, it's not a good thing for development, right? So definitely we can do something better on that. But before we talk about solution, let's talk about another group of features. We call it almost missing features. These are the features, it's kind of standard features for web applications or server-side applications, but kind of missing for command line tools because of priorities. So we don't implement them. For example, observability. Again, at Criteo, if you write an application, even a Hello World, observability is just there. Just have dashboard, monitoring, just for your application. But for command line tools, you need actual work to put in place observabilities. So at the end, compared to other high priority functionality, we say, hey, let's maybe do it next time. Same thing for the progress rollout and A/B testing. When we have a new version of command, we want that to be delivered to a small group of people, get some feedbacks like engagement, performance, and then analyze them and improve them, and then deliver progressively to all the populations. But this needs some cost, right? You have actual work to work in that. So at the end, less priority. Let's work on functionality first. Log management is another example. Most of command line tools, your output is already in the standout. So if you have to take actual effort to say, hey, let's add some log systems, log in additional information when there's something that happens. So again, that's priority, so let's do it next time. We have been talking about so far about some of the problems or issues we find during the development side. Let's talk about another side of story, the user's perspective. Are they happy about their life? Are they happy with this command line we developed for them? I don't think so. Discovery will be the first issue. So when you want to do something, you want to access a service, you want to do something, you say, hey, is there some command already there to help me to do this? Or should I build my own script command to do that? If you find that command, it's not just you can directly use it. Not all the command you can just download it and then run it directly. You probably need a configuration file. Some of them need a real setup. For example, I don't know, maybe npm install dependencies or set up Python VM. This really depends on how you implement your command line tools. There will be inconsistent user interface. Some depends on which libraries you use. Some of favors the help command. Some others favors the help flags, the -- help. Same thing for versions. If you have a lot of command with different user interface, so people getting confused. I want to take a little bit more time talking about sharing, because we are engineers, especially SRE engineers, right? We love automation. Whenever there is something that you need to do more than 2 steps, we are thinking, hey, don't do it manually, run this and that. Let's create a program or script. Let's automate that. So at the end, every one of us, I believe, we have some, on all laptops, mine is the case, have a lot of scripts just to make our life easier. So this happens in my team. So one day we decide, okay, let's stop this. Let's share our script. So we create a repository, which is called Build Services Dirty Script. You see, I highlighted the dirty part because retrospectively, somehow at the very beginning, when we create that repository, we realized that this script will be dirty, but we underestimated how dirty they could be. Take one example. Remove -agents.sh. Anyone here want to run it now? Whoa, you're so brave. You're very hard. I believe that you want to run it because you're probably waiting for something like this, right? Or even better, you're waiting for something like this, very nice help messages. But most of people like me, we don't want to run this. Right? Why? Because we're afraid something like this happens. And because we know these scripts are dirty, definitely we think, okay, I don't want to run it. Or I will take some time to look at the documents, look at the code, to see what it does, and then use it. So the share script thing in the dirty script repository, it doesn't work at all. Okay, so far we talked about the things about development side, the user side. Let's make a quick recap. We have to provide standard functionalities so that we don't reinvent the wheel again and again. We should treat the command line tools as a first-class citizen, as what we do for web applications and server-side applications. We should make the command very easy to be discovered and easy to install. And of course, a consistent user interface can improve the user experience, right? And most importantly, we need to raise the base quality of all the program scripts that we made ourselves so that we are confident to share them and use the script that made by others. If you look at this problem we just talked about, actually it's not new. If you have the chance to work on in the desktop software development in 90s, early this century, you're kind of facing the similar problems. And you have to reinvent some common problems as well, right? For example, installers. Every software you made, you have to write an installer. And there is a job for this, to write installers, installer engineers, search Google. You have the installer engineers. And if you do it right, you have to write n installers. Remember all the files just left over on your software, on the laptops when you uninstall something? You need to really do the installers right. Release and deployment is much difficult than today. So it's not just development itself. You have to put them into the medium like floppy disks like this, or CDs in a little bit later. And sometimes you need multiple floppy disks, and if you switch them when you install them. So it's definitely difficult at that time. Graphical interface. Anyone can guess what is the know what framework used by this interface? Which one? Java, yes, exactly. More precisely, Swing, right? That's the point. That's by looking at the interface, you know the technology is developing that. So at that time, the technology you use really determines your user interface, right? Some libraries you use, they might have different looks on different operating systems. And A/B testing. A/B testing is not new. It has been applied for other industries for centuries. But it's really recent years we started using A/B testing for software development, right? What about knowing new softwares? Go to the store, look at it, whoa, this software is good. I didn't know, I haven't buy it and install it. Or you buy magazines or newspapers, and then knowing the new softwares and trying to buy them and install them, imagine you are an indie software developer at that time. You're not just developing your softwares, the marketing part. If you have promoted, your software getting promoted is my personal opinion is it's more difficult than developing itself. But today, we all know that these problems, or almost these problems, most of them have been solved by the software as service, or SaaS. You don't need to install anything. The browser has been installed in any computers you can find. And to access a web application, you just type a URL. That's it. And the browser is not simply a program that can access web information. It provides a lot of integrated functionalities. For example, identity. It enables progress rollout and A/B testing. And it is the foundation of the modern digital advertising systems. Other examples, credential management. Browsers can remember your credential security and autofill in your applications, and geolocations, local storage, not to mention all the plugins and extensions you can install in browser. And HTML and CSS is the new, unified interface language to build your software, build your UI of your software. So you can have a very consistent looks on all the platforms. It also enables the discovery thanks to the search engines, because it's HTML and CSS. It's to describe your application, your content of application. It can be indexed by search engine, so you can just few keywords away, you can find new softwares. It also enables continuous delivery again as well. So yeah, because it's a server, and so we can apply all the continuous delivery things that we have been applied for other services. And if you are indie software developer, today, when you're doing marketing and promotion your software, it's almost the same thing as the big software vendors, right? So now, we kind of find a solution for a similar problem we met. The problem is that we're talking about a command line tool today, right? We're not talking about the relationship. We're not talking about the software SaaS, right? So how can we apply that to command line tools? So let's take a closer look about the SaaS solution. Why it's so successful? I think there are three key elements. The first one, the browser. It serves as an entry point and provides lots of common functionalities. The second one, HTML and CSS. It is a declarative user interface. It enables other services to discover your services, right? For example, the search engines, right? It can index your UIs and then make it very easy to discover. And it also separates concerns. So this introduces a third element, is that you can still use your favorite technology to build your applications. You don't need to force to use a specific technology to onboard to SaaS. So these three key elements, what is to do with command line tools? Let's make a very, very simple exercise. Fill in the blanks. We need entry point, provide common functionalities. So we build one called command launcher. As the name says, it's simply a command launches other command. Of course, it has other functionalities integrated in it. We need a declarative user interface. So we introduce one. It's called manifest. This file is a JSON or YAML file, depending on your choice, so no debate here. And then it describes your interface about your command line. So it also enables other tools to discover your new command line tools, and it also separates concerns. So you can still use your favorite technology to build your business logic about command. So probably so far, it's still too abstract. Let's see look at some real examples. A command launcher is a project name, right? At Criteo, we name it CDT, it's Criteo Dev Toolkit. But it's a name. You can name it whatever you want. I will use CDT in this example, in all these slides. We need a manifest to describe your command line tools. A bare minimum way to describe a command, you need two information. First is a name. In this case, it's greeting. So we're creating a sub-command called greeting in command launcher. And then when you call CDT greeting, command launcher will need to know which command he needs to launch. So in this case, it is a hi command in the package directory. So what is a package? Package is a way help you to group a group of commands together for delivery. For example, some command, it doesn't make sense to deliver separately. They always work all together, right? So in this case, you put all the commands together in one package and deliver them. So here is an example about package. You have a folder with a manifest file in it and a binary hi in it. So by doing this simple minimalist manifest file, you will get CDT greeting. You can call it from CDT greeting. And any arguments you pass to this CDT greeting command will be passed to the underlying hi command. So typically, you're running CDT greeting SREcon, the same thing as you run hi SREcon. But this is so boring, right? It doesn't add additional value. Just having one command calling another command. So what's the point? Let's see something more useful. Let's turn a bash script into a native lag command. Remember the shell script that I think two of you dare to run in the remove agent sh? I don't like the name, remove-agent.sh. Just, yeah, you look at that, you know it's a bash script. So more native way will be a command called agent with the subcommand remove. And so you can have an agent add or agent other verbs to operate on the agents. So that's one thing we can improve. And secondly, I don't like the input. You get the environment variables, URL and size at the input. But more native way will be we pass arguments, get two flags, like dash dash URL and dash size. That will be more native way. And the third, I think a nice help messages will help. If we don't know how to use it, just run the command and it give you the nice help messages. How can I do that? The manifest file. So we need to first give it a group command. It's called agent. As the name says, it's a group. It's just parent command contains other command. Let's give it the remove command. It is an executable command, and the parent is set to be agent. Give some descriptions, short one, the long ones for different use cases. Why not some examples? The example is already good. And for flags, let's define two flags, URL and size, and give some description about the flags. So, but now, our command launcher reading this manifest file, knowing, OK, your command is waiting for URL and size at two flags. So he can pass the arguments and get the right values to your command. And then how command launcher pass this command to your script? Not surprisingly, through environment variables, but with a prefix. It's called CDT_flag. So by doing this, your command just runs CDT agent remove. You get this very nice, beautiful help messages. And if you pass that dash dash size and dash the URL, and then it just runs as before. I want to talk about auto-completions. So typically, when you write a new command, you have to write auto-completion scripts. So that users need to set up in their bash, so that in their shell script, so that in their share, so that they can make the auto-completion work. But a command launcher, because thanks to the manifest file, he knows your interface. So you don't need to do any custom configurations for auto-completion. Command launcher does it for you. You set up only once when you set up command launcher. And then all the commands he managed get automatically have auto-completion implemented. So here is one example. And it can even support dynamic auto-completion. So if you some your arguments need different list of values, it can also support that by command launcher. What about credential management? We have a built-in command. It's called CDT login. So this command can be extended to connect to any IAM systems. So the credential return from your IAM systems, like username, password, tokens, etc., command launcher will store the security. So it can pass this information to your program through the environment variables. But we don't want to pass these credentials to any program, right? That's so unsecure, right? So to do that, if your command requires this information, you have to explicitly declare that in your manifest file. So, hey, I need to access username and token in this case. So when you do that, command launcher will give you a very nice consent message. Hey, this command is trying to access your credentials, and this is the two credentials they are accessing, so do you grant the access? If you say yes, it will pass the values to your script or program, otherwise, the empty value. I want to talk about deliver and auto-update. There are two scenarios, enterprise scenario and personal scenario. For enterprise scenario, for example, at Criteo, we want all the developers have a specific group of command for build, test, etc. And for the CI servers, probably we want a different set of command For different use case, other different set of command. So we introduced a remote package registry. It's simply a JSON file, lists all the available packages to the command launcher. So command launcher just synchronizes with the file, and then to make sure its local copy is always up to date with the latest version of the command. So the entry of the registry looks like in the right side. You need a name of the package, a version. The version is important because we need to know which one is the latest version, right? And you need the URL to download your package. Remember the structure, the folder that you have package with the manifest in it. You just zip it, put it any URLs that can be accessed by command launcher, update the registry, you're done. And the command launcher will make sure that every target will have the same latest version. So this example, when a new version of command published, it will just automatically upload it, update it. You probably already realized there are two specific properties called start partition and end partition. That is how we implement progressive rollout. So command launcher will assign a unique segmentation number for every machine it runs on. So when you release a new version of command, you can specify, OK, my version will be targeting this segmentation or a range of segmentation. So command launcher will ensure that particular version be updated on that particular segmentation. Combined with another built-in feature, monitoring feature, you can do something like A/B testing. Because command launcher runs your command, right? So he can collect the information like your exit code, your durations, your arguments, and then he can report this to a monitoring server. And then you can have the live monitoring on the left side. It's a live monitoring about one command that we call a hotfix. It's running. You can see that there's a peak. There's a hotfix create, take 25 minutes. Oh, there's something wrong there. So you need to take some look about that. On the right side is A/B testing. So you see that the two CI versions, they run on two different segmentations. One is outperform another one's. Lastly, I want to talk about sharing command, the personal command. So as we said, we have a lot of personal command developed by every engineers. So we introduced a new feature called drop-in feature. It's a folder. You put any package in it. Command launcher just recognize it. And then if you want to share your package, you just put that in the Git repository, and there a command. You can just install it. Or you can just zip it to any URLs, and other people can use another command to install it. Because of time, I cannot introduce all the features of a command launcher, so we decided to open source it. So this enabled a lot of new possibilities. If you're interested, any contributions are welcomed. And thank you.